Greetings, everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. Ang gagawin natin today is we're going to continue yung ating civil code provisions. Like the last session, we started with the laws on obligations. So, ito yung mga pertinent provisions that I think you guys will find very useful in your careers as tourism and accommodation students. So, continue lang natin yung law on obligations so that you'll be able to see ano ba yung point ng pag-aaral natin sa law on obligations. Napag-aralan natin last time that there are four sources of damages. If you are proven to have committed fraud, if you have been proven negligent, if you were in delay or in default, or if you breach a contract, then you may be held liable for damages. And under the third source of damage, we were able to establish na meron tayong three requisites for one to be generally considered in default. The first one is that the injury or the damages should have been liquidated and due. The obligation should be liquidated and should be due and demandable. The second one is that the debtor, kung sino yung dapat gumawa ng obligation na yon, should be, kumbaga, late. Hindi pa niya ginagawa yung due and demandable obligation niya. And then the third one is, dapat yung makakapag-enjoy nung kung ano man yung gagawin ng debtor, kung magbabayad siya, yung makaka-receive ng kabayaran, dapat meron siyang demand, either judicially or extrajudicially. Ano ibig sabihin ng judicially? Ibig sabihin, dadaan siya through the courts. Kung extrajudicially, extra meaning outside, judicial, extrajudicial, outside the courts. Gagawin niya, either magsusulat siya ng demand letter, or magte-text siya ng demand letter, or mag-email siya, or tatawag siya, or kakausapin niya na bayaran mo na yung utang mo today. So basically, yun yung three requisites natin. And because there are three requisites, pag kulang yan, hindi pa pwedeng matawag yung may utang na in default or in delay. Importante, lalo na kung ikaw yung nagpautang, yung third element. At ano yung third element? Yung third element yung meron kang judicial or extrajudicial demand. Kaya meron tayong general rule. No demand, no delay. Yan yung point ng slide na to. If you do not make as the creditor, yung nagpautang, for example, as if you have not made any demand on the debtor yet, kung hindi ka pa nagkukubra or nagdedemand na bayaran ka nung pinautang mo, doon sa may utang sa'yo, then hindi pa siya, yung may utang sa'yo, hindi pa pwede nating tawaging in default or may delay. But, general rule yung no demand, no delay. Meron niyang exception and napag-aralan rin natin yan last time. Napag-aralan natin na if any of these four instances are present, there is no need for demand so that before the debtor can be considered in delay. Ano yung mga four instances na hindi kailangan ng demand? When the law so provides, when the agreement or the obligation so provides, when time is of the essence, and when demand would be useless. So yung four na yan na-discuss natin sa last session. Ngayon gusto ko sa inyong i-offer na merong exception to that exception. Okay, because the reason why we are talking about this topic is gusto nating malaman, pwede ka bang maging liable for damages or pwede ka bang pagbayarin ng danyos perwisyo. Itong next slide or next topic natin, ang pwedeng magsabi na no, kahit na hindi ka na, kung ikaw yung may utang, kahit hindi mo nagawa yung obligation mo, pag nangyari tong rule na to at nag-apply sa'yo, pwedeng hindi ka magbayad ng danyos perwisyo. Ano itong rule na to? Ito yung rule natin on fortuitous event. So para natin pwede siyang consider as exception to the exception. Ano ba, sir, ang fortuitous event? Well, fortuitous event, the rule on that one can be seen in Article 1174 of the New Civil Code. The law says, except in cases expressly specified by law, or when it is otherwise declared by stipulation, or when the nature of the obligation requires the assumption of risk, no person shall be responsible for those events which could not be foreseen or which, though foreseen, were inevitable. Okay, so medyo himay-himay natin. Right now, I want you guys to focus on the second half of this provision. No person shall be responsible for those events which could not be foreseen or which, though foreseen, were inevitable. Ibig sabihin ng in Tagalog, hindi ka pwedeng maging responsible na magbayad ng damages kapag itong fortuitous event na to ay magpakita or mangyari. And fortuitous event is defined as events which could not be foreseen or which, though foreseen, were inevitable. Discuss natin in detail. Fortuitous event is also called caso fortuito. Caso fortuito are extraordinary events, mga pangyayaring ekstraordinaryo, not foreseeable or not avoidable. Ibig sabihin, mga ekstraordinaryong pangyayari na hindi mo inakalang mangyayari. Hindi mo siya na-anticipate. Hindi mo siya na-predict na mangyayari. At kung nakita mo man siya na mangyayari na, imposible mong maiwasan yung pangyayaring yon. These are what you call fortuitous events or caso fortuito. Remember, class, it is not enough that the event or the fortuitous event should not have been foreseen or anticipated, but it must be a fortuitous event, must be impossible to foresee or impossible to avoid. As in talagang hindi mo siya maiiwasan kung nakita mo man siya, or kung hindi pa siya nangyayari, hindi mo siya nakitang mangyayari. Impossible to foresee or impossible to avoid. That, my dears, are what you call caso fortuito. So, yung tipong, hindi ko lang siya nakita dahil medyo mahirap siyang, mahirap siyang know for certain na mangyayari. Hindi yun enough. Kailangan imposibleng na foresee mo siya or kung nakita mo man siya, imposible nang maiwasan. Okay? So, caso fortuito or fortuitous event, ang general rule dito, gaya nung nakalagay dun sa ating article earlier, yung second half, no person shall be responsible for fortuitous events. Okay? Or no person shall be responsible for those events which could not be foreseen or, though foreseen, were unavoidable. In short, generally, the obligor or kung sino man yung merong obligasyon na mag-render ng obligation is exempt from liability if the reason is due to fortuitous event or caso fortuito. Ano, attorney, ang ibig sabihin yan? Ibig sabihin, kung ikaw yung merong obligasyon na may prestation to give, to do, or not to do. Meron ba? For example, may utang ka kay Pedro. Due today, babayaran mo dapat today. Pero nangyari itong caso fortuito o fortuitous event, hindi ka nakapagbayad today. Hindi ka pwedeng patawan ng damages or hindi ka pwedeng ma-find na nagkasala dahil hindi mo nabayaran today yung utang mo kay Pedro because you were prevented by fortuitous event. So therefore, kahit tomorrow mo bayaran, okay lang, wala ka pa ring damages na kailangang bayaran. Okay? Yan yung general rule ng kaso 422. But, ang general rule na yan, maraming requirements yan. Importante that the obligor must be entirely free from any participation in the aggravation of the injury or loss. There must be an entire exclusion of human agency from the cause of injury or loss. Anong gustong sabihin nito, attorney? Ganito lang yan. Ibig sabihin, kung yung meron kang kaso fortuito or fortuitous event na excuse kaya hindi mo nagawa yung obligasyon mo today, kailangan yung kaso fortuito na yon wala kang contribution para sa pangyayaring kaso fortuito na yon or fortuitous event na yon. As in, totally wala kang ginawa, wala kang kapabayaan, wala kang, hindi ka pa late nang mangyari yung kaso fortuito na yun or fortuitous event para mag-apply sa'yo yung general rule na kahit hindi mo nagawa yung obligasyon mo today, you were prevented by fortuitous event, therefore, you can still pay tomorrow but without being liable for damages. Okay? So, importanteng wala ka dapat contribution, dapat wala kang kinalaman sa pangyayari ng fortuitous event. In order for the general rule to operate, it is necessary that one has committed no negligence, no misconduct, or no delay that may have occasioned the loss. Okay. Example. Mamaya, bigyan natin tayo ng example para importanteng maintindihan nyo. Ito. Meron tayong case, si Virginia Real versus si Senando H. Bello. This is a decision by the Supreme Court promulgated in 2007, GR number 146224. Ano nangyari dito? Si Virginia, meron siyang parang fast food na para silang, si Bello at saka si Virginia, pareho silang concessionaire ng isang parang food court sa isang school dito sa Manila. Para silang, kumbaga, pag recess ng mga estudyante or pag free time ng mga estudyante, kung gusto nilang kumain, pwede silang pumunta dun sa kanilang food court and pwede silang pumili sa mga vendors doon, sa mga concessionaires. Dalawang concessionaire doon, si Virginia at saka si Bello. One day, after school, nag-closing na yung food park or yung food court. For some reason, during the night, nagkaroon ng apoy. Kinabukasan, fire out, sunog yung stall ni Virginia at sunog yung stall ni Bello. So si Bello ngayon, at saka si Virginia, nagtanong sa fire department, paano nagsimula yung apoy? After ma-determine kung saan nagsimula yung apoy, napag-alaman na nagsimula yung apoy sa stall ni Virginia. So ngayon, kinasuhan ni Bello si Virginia for damages kasi nasunog yung kanyang tindahan. Laban sila sa RTC, natalo si Virginia, nag-appeal si Virginia, nakarating sa Supreme Court. Sa Supreme Court ngayon, tanong ni Virginia, apoy po yung nagtupok nung ako rin po, nawalan rin po ng tindahan. Si Bello, nawalan rin po ng tindahan. Apoy, yung same apoy po, sinunog yung aming mga tindahan dun sa food court. Tama po ba na ako yung magbayad ng damages kay Bello? Fortuitous event yan. Imposible naming makita yan na mangyayari, or kung makita mo naming mangyayari, imposible po kaming makaiwas doon sa daan ng apoy. Sabi ng Supreme Court. Virginia, chinek namin lahat ng records ng kaso. Chinek namin lahat ng sinubmit nyo at sinubmit ni Bello, and nakita namin na yes, nagsimula yung apoy dahil yung LPG doon sa iyong stall, Virginia, ay inaiwang bukas. At doon, dahil madumi yung stall mo, maraming flammable material sa loob, nagkaroon ng spark, lumiyab agad at nabuo yung apoy. True, pwedeng masabi natin na isa siyang event na hindi mo inakalang mangyayari, or kung na-foresee mo man na mangyayari siya, imposibleng maiwasan siya kasi hindi mo naman pwedeng buhatin yung stall mo. Still, ang rule natin sa fortuitous event, kailangan entirely free ka, Virginia, from negligence. Doon tayo mag-focus sa negligence. Dito, nakita namin na nung ginawa yung mga reports, yung mga papers after, napag-alaman na ang dumi ng stall mo, ang daming flammable materials, iniwang nakabukas yung LPG ng iyong stall. Dahil may kapabayaan, ang mangyayari, hindi mo na pwedeng hingian ng saklolo yung general rule ng fortuitous event kasi meron kang kapabayaan. Dahil sa kapabayaan mo, mag-a-apply na sa'yo yung ultimate rule na kapag merong kapabayaan at merong na agrabyado, pwede kang matagpuan na guilty and liable for payment of damages. So, sa kasong to, si Virginia ay nagbayad ng danyos perwisyo kay Belo. Yun guys. Okay? So, in short, generally, pwede kang maka-escape, pwede yung 4 sources of damages, pag applicable sa iyo, magbabayad ka ng damages. May exception. Kung merong kaso fortuito or merong fortuitous event, pwedeng hindi ka na kailangan magbayad ng damages. Kasi yung event na fortuitous event is something na cannot be foreseen. Imposibleng makita or ma-anticipate. Or kung nakita man, impossible to avoid. But in this case, kailangan para mag-apply yung kaso fortuito or yung fortuitous event, kailangan entirely free ka from kasalanan, from delay, from negligence. In this case, iniwang nakabukas yung LPG sa loob ng stall during the night. And madumi yung paligid ng gas range. Kaya nung nagkaroon ng spark at nabukas ang LPG, sabog, apoy, sunog. Therefore, merong kasalanan. Therefore, magbabayad ng damages si Virginia. Yan yung gusto kong maintindihan ninyo. Na para kayo, if ever in the future, para kayo makapag-avail ng benefits ng fortuitous event, kailangan itong 4 requirements ma-meet ninyo. Okay? The first one is, the fortuitous event should be a cause that is unforeseen and unexpected. It should be the cause of the unforeseen and unexpected occurrence must be independent of human will. Kailangan, like Ondoy. Ondoy, never na, nung tumaas ang tubig for the first time sa Metro Manila, walang nakaisip na tataas ang tubig ng ganon. Ganong kalaktaas, ganong kabilis. That is independent of human will. Kung hindi ka ang may kasalanan nun, then that's the first one. It must be independent of human will or wala dapat contribution ng tao. Number 2, it must be impossible to foresee the event which constitutes the caso fortuito or the fortuitous event. Or, if it can be foreseen, it must be impossible to avoid. So, dapat imposible siyang ma-anticipate or makita na mangyayari, or kung nakita na mangyayari, imposible nang maiwasan. Third one is, the occurrence must be such as to render it impossible for the debtor to fulfill his obligation in a normal manner. So example, yung kanina, sabi ko, kung ikaw ay may utang kay Pedro, 500 pesos, today dapat mabayaran, biglang nagkaroon ng super typhoon na hindi ka makalabas ng bahay. Ang normal manner na gagawin mo dapat, kung ordinary day, kung normal weather, lalabas ka ng bahay, pupuntahan mo si Pedro at iaabot mo yung bayad mo. Pero dahil may super typhoon na nangyari today, hindi mo na bayaran si Pedro today kasi kahit anong gawin mo, hindi mo na magagawa yung lalabas ka ng bahay, pupuntahan mo si Pedro, iaabot mo sa kanya, hindi mo magagawa yun agad-agad in a normal manner because prevented ka by the happening of the super typhoon or the fortuitous event. And the fourth requirement is the obligor must be free from any participation in the aggravation of the injury resulting to the creditor. Kailangan walang kasalanan ikaw. Wala kang delay, wala kang kapabayaan, wala kang para ma-avail mo yung benefit ng fortuitous event para hindi ka magbayad ng damages. Unlike si Virginia, although na pwede sana pumasok yung fortuitous event at pwede sana siyang mapawalang sala for payment for damages, ang kaso meron siyang participation in the aggravation of the injury resulting to the creditor. May kapabayaan siya. Iniwan niyang bukas yung LPG sa kanyang stall, maraming flammable material sa paligid ng LPG niya, kaya talagang magbabayad siya ng damages. Remember, under the same law, Civil Code of the Philippines, Article 2176, sinasabi na whoever by act or omission causes damage to another, there being fault or negligence, is obliged to pay for the damage done. Kaya, my dear students, in this case, nagbayad si Virginia kay Bello sa loss na na-sustain ni Bello because sa kapabayaan ni Virginia. Ang sabi ko, di ba, doon sa fourth requirement, kailangan walang contribution yung may utang o yung obligor, yung dapat mag-fulfill ng obligation. Because ito ang tandaan nyo. General rule, yes, no person shall be responsible for those events which could not be foreseen or which, though foreseen, were unavoidable. Pero exception is, yung obligor is still liable for damages even if there is a fortuitous event when itong tatlong to mangyayari. When the law expressly provides na kahit na magkaroon ng fortuitous event, liable ka pa rin, or kung meron kayong agreement. Agreement nyo is kahit may mangyaring fortuitous event doon sa sinulat nyong agreement, magiging ka pa rin liable, then kahit may fortuitous event, liable ka pa rin for damages. And the third one is, if by the nature of the obligation, it requires the assumption of risk. So, in short, guys, kaya nakikita nyo, werewolf, nagiging tao, because yung kaso fortuito, kagaya ng example kanina, pwede sana siyang ma-avail ni Virginia, pero dahil may kapabayaan siya, it was humanized. Nagkaroon siya ng human contribution. Therefore, hindi na mag-a-apply yung hindi na siya kailangan magbayad ng damages. Mag-a-apply na ulit na dahil may kapabayaan siya, liable siya for damages. Okay? So, itong sinasabi natin is exception ngayon dun sa rule. Anong exception to? Okay? Para lang hindi kayo mawala. First rule, kung meron kang kapabayaan or any of these four sources of damages, pwede kang ma-find liable for damages. Pero, kung nangyari ang kaso fortuito at wala kang contribution, then pwedeng hindi ka magbayad ng damages. Pero kapag na-humanize yung kaso fortuito, may contribution ka sa pangyayari ng kaso fortuito, then balik tayo sa general rule. Liable ka for damages. Ngayon, kahit na hindi na-humanize yung for kaso fortuito, kung meron namang itong tatlong tong exception na present, liable ka pa rin for damages. Okay? So, ibig sabihin yan, kahit na may kaso fortuito na nangyari, kung napag-usapan ninyo when it was agreed upon, kung sinasabi mismo ng isang batas na kahit nangyari yung kaso fortuito, liable ka pa rin, or kung merong by the nature of the obligation, there is an assumption of risk, then liable ka pa rin for damages. Okay? So, okay, this bathroom break, since video naman to, let's skip this one. Ang gusto ko lang appreciate nyo guys is, in the end, kapag meron kayong obligation, you try to make sure that you do your obligation. Para na rin meron kayong palabra de honor. Kasi pag kayo guys merong obligation in the future, especially pag nag-start kayo in business or your careers, and hindi nyo in-honor yung inyong obligation, remember, if it's a civil obligation, galing sa any of the 5 sources of a civil obligation, then you may be held liable for payment of damages. Now, Actually, guys, maraming kinds of obligation. But in our course, I want us to concentrate on just four. Pero ito yung six kinds of obligation. Merong pure obligation, may conditional, merong obligation with a period, merong joint and solidary obligation, merong alternative obligation, and also facultative obligation. Pero dito tayo sa first four lang. Let's start with pure obligation. So, pure obligation is one whose performance or extinguishment is not subject to any condition or period, as in pure obligation lang siya. So, ibig sabihin, demandable siya at once. Example, si Miguel ay nag-promise na bibigyan niya si Alvin ng 25,000 pesos. That's a pure obligation. Kasi sinabi lang ni Miguel, bibigyan kita Alvin ng 25,000 pesos. Wala ng condition, walang mga other walang other factors na kailangan i-consider. Therefore, this is a pure obligation because Miguel's obligation is to give money to Alvin and it is not subject to any condition or period. Therefore, Alvin may demand from Miguel the said amount anytime. It is demandable at once. Dahil ang sabi lang ni Miguel, Alvin, bibigyan kita ng 25,000. Si Alvin, pwede niya sabihin, akin na. Bigay mo na sa akin ngayon. Because a pure obligation is not subject to any condition or period and is demandable at once. The next type or next kind of obligation are conditional obligations. What are conditional obligations? Okay, itong conditional obligation class is an obligation the performance or extinguishment of which is dependent upon the happening of the condition. Anong ibig sabihin nito, attorney? Ibig sabihin, itong type ng obligation na to, merong factor na kailangan consider. It is dependent on the happening of a condition. Kailangan mangyari muna yung condition bago pwede siyang ma-activate. Okay? Conditional obligation is not immediately demandable. Kailangan mangyari muna yung condition na napag-usapan nyo bago siya maging demandable. Okay? There is a need for the happening of the condition before the obligation becomes demandable. Ano pa, attorney, yung condition? Good question. Ang condition, guys, under the law, is defined as such. It is an uncertain event or uncertain future act whose occurrence or non-occurrence determines the rights or obligations of a party under a legal instrument and especially a contract. Ano ibig sabihin mo dun, sir? Ganito lang siya. Pag sinabing condition, ibig sabihin hindi mo sure kung mangyayari yung action na yon or yung event. It is an uncertain, not sure. Example, Miguel obliged himself to give Alvin 25,000 pesos if Alvin is promoted as Vice President for Administration. So, anong nangyari? Sabi ni Miguel, Alvin, bibigyan kita ng 25,000 pesos kung mapopromote ka as Vice President for Administration. So, merong kung, merong condition. Dahil yung promotion to become a Vice President for Administration is not sure. Hindi ka sure. It's uncertain. It is a condition. Dahil hindi ka sure kung mangyayari yung promotion to Vice Presidency, then it is what you call a condition because a condition is an uncertain future act or event whose occurrence or non-occurrence, yung kanyang pangyayari or yung hindi man siya mangyari, yun magdedetermine kung yung conditional obligation ma-activate. So in this case, Miguel's obligation to give the money to Alvin only arises upon the fulfillment of the condition that Alvin be promoted as the Vice President for Administration. So, in short, dahil merong kung si Miguel, bibigyan kita Alvin ng 25,000 pesos kung ikaw ay mapopromote. Therefore, kung hindi ma-promote si Alvin, hindi kailangan ni Miguel magbigay ng 25,000 pesos sa kanya. Pero kung ma-promote si Alvin, then kailangan ni Miguel magbigay kay Alvin ng 25,000 pesos as promised. Yan guys ang tinatawag nating conditional obligation. Merong kung mangyayari. Ano naman ang third kind of obligation? It is the obligation with a period. Anong ibig sabihin nito, attorney? Okay. An obligation with a period is an obligation whose consequences are subjected in one way or another to the expiration of said period or term. Okay? So, ano po ang ibig sabihin nito? Ibig sabihin nito, sige, let's explain it in the next slide para klaro. Kung ang condition is kung, unsure, uncertain event, ang period sure na mangyayari. Okay? It is a day certain which determines the effectivity or extinguishment of obligations. It is that day because it must surely come, although it may not be known when. Okay, anong ibig sabihin nito? Ibig sabihin nito is, kung yung condition, hindi ka sure kung mangyayari, ang period, sure ka mangyayari. Hindi mo lang alam kung kailan, pero sure ka mangyayari. Example ng condition is promotion to vice president. Hindi mo sure kung mapopromote ka as vice president. Pero ang period, sure ka mangyayari. Hindi mo lang alam kailan. Para mas maintindihan niyo, ang period is like death. Sure tayo na mamamatay tayo. Hindi lang natin alam kung kailan. That's a period. Ano pang sure natin? Sure natin na makakagraduate ka ng college. Hindi lang natin alam kung kailan. Pero sure tayo na makakagraduate ka ng college. Okay? So, period is a day certain which determines the effectivity or extinguishment of obligations. An example would be, in a contract of sale, JOSA obliged herself to deliver a particular food truck unit on March 3, 2026 to Maritoni. So, binentahan ni JOSA si Maritoni ng isang food truck unit. I-deliver niya on March 3, 2026. In this example, ang March 3, 2026, check na mangyayari. Merong March 3 sa calendar and 2026 mangyayari next year. So definitely, darating tayo sa March 3, 2026. Therefore, March 3, 2026 is a period. Now, JOSA, yung seller, has until March 3, 2026 to perform her obligation. Yan. Let's go now to the last kind of obligation I want to talk to you about. Itong joint and solidary obligations, magkaiba to. Joint versus solidary. Magkaiba yan pero pinagsama natin kasi yan yung opposite of each other. On this slide, let's talk about the first type, joint. Joint obligation. Pag nakita ko yung joint V, solidary, yung V, ibig sabihin niya versus. So, joint versus solidary. Dun muna tayo sa joint. Ano ba ang joint obligation? Joint obligation is where each debtor is liable only for a proportionate part of the debt and the creditor is entitled to demand only a proportionate part of the credit from each debtor. So anong ibig sabihin nito? Ibig sabihin, napapansin nyo, itong fourth kind of obligation is about sharing. Sharing of obligations. Either kung marami yung may utang, paano yung share nila? Kung marami yung nagpautang, paano yung share nila? So itong fourth kind of obligation talks about paano nyo iaako yung obligation. So pag pinag-usapan natin ngayon is joint. Sa joint obligation, proportionate part of the debt lamang yung aakuin ng may utang. Halimbawa, dito sa example ito, may image tayo dito, 5 tao, 5 kamay ang nakikita natin sa image ito. Yung utang nila, isang malaking bilog. Pag sinabing joint obligation, aakuin lang nung isang kamay yung portion, yung share niya lang sa babayaran niya is yung share na kinuha niya dun sa utang. Like in this one, equal yung slices nila dun sa bilog. Therefore, pag nagbayad yung kamay na may white sleeves na malapit sa aking mukha, pag nagbayad na siya ng utang, yung kanya lang proportionate share yung babayaran niya. Kung magkano lang yung kinuha niya na slice dun sa utang, yun lang yung babayaran niya. That is joint obligation. Same goes sa creditor. Kung maraming nagpautang, then pag joint obligation, kung magkano lang yung pinautang niya, yun lang yung makukuha niya na kabayaran. That is what you call joint obligation. Kung magkano lang yung proportionate share mo, yun lang yung aakuin mo. A joint obligation, now you know that a joint obligation contemplates of more than one person sharing. So, pag merong joint obligation, ibig sabihin may nag-share dun sa obligation. Therefore, more than one person ang pinag-uusapan natin dito. Dahil merong joint obligation at dahil ang joint obligation dun na sa share mo yung aakuin mong obligation, no creditor can compel one of the debtors to satisfy in full the whole obligation. Ibig sabihin, kung dun sa earlier image natin, 5 kayong nagsama-sama, 5 kayong nag-utang, and joint obligation kayo. Pagka yung inutangan nyo, nakita ka, hindi pwede kang i-force nung inutangan nyo na bayaran yung buong utang. Pwede lang niyang i-force na bayaran mo yung share mo dun sa utang. Okay? Importante to guys. So, pag in the future, pag kayo nag-enter into contracts, may kita nyo to, usually nakalagay doon, joint obligation, or kung hindi man nyo makita yung joint obligation na nakalagay doon, ang nakasulat doon sa kontrata is pro rata, or yung word na proportionate, or may kita nyo yung word in very old, in old contracts, mancomunada. Yan yung may kita nyong terms. And pag nakita nyo yan, most likely, ang pinag-uusapan dito is a joint obligation. At pag merong joint obligation, kahit na due na and demandable yung utang, kapag ikaw ang nakita at hindi nakita yung mga kasama mong ibang nag-utang ng iyong creditor o yung nagpautang sa'yo, that creditor can only ask you to pay for your share of the utang and not for the entire utang. Okay? Now, ang rule natin, our law, states that the presumption is that the obligation is always joint. Ang laging default na treatment ng batas natin is pag merong maraming debtors, maraming nag-utang, ang presumption ng law, ng batas is laging joint obligation yan. Okay? Ang exception is when it is clearly stated that the obligation is solidary. Okay, so general rule, presumption of law is joint obligation yan lagi. Ang exception is pag klaro nakasulat na hindi siya joint obligation. Bakit? Bakit kailangan ang presumption ng law is joint obligation siya? Because mas magaan siyang dalhin ng may utang. Bakit? Because kung 5 kayo na nag-utang, ikaw at saka 4 mong friends, tapos joint obligation kayo, kapag tumakbo yung 2 niyong friend, hindi pwedeng i-force ng nagpautang sa inyo na ikaw lang yung magbayad ng utang. Ang pwede niya i-force out of you is bayaran mo yung share mo dun sa utang. Hindi ka pwedeng patawan ng demand na bayaran mo yung buong utang ninyo. Kasi yung share mo lang yung kailangang bayaran because ang presumption ng batas, joint obligation yung inyong pinasok. And pag joint obligation, you're only responsible for the proportionate share of the debt. Now, pag merong kasulatan, merong nakalagay doon sa inyong kontrata na hindi ito joint obligation, then pwede ka nang maging responsible for the entire utang kahit ikaw lang yung kinubra and not your 4 other friends. So example, We have Alma, we have Bernard, and we have Christine. Si Alma, si Bernard, si Christine. They borrowed 9,000 pesos from Diana. So merong tatlong nangutang kay Diana. Ang hiniram nito ni Alma, ni Bernard at saka ni Christine, 9,000 pesos. Ang nagpautang si Diana. Since no other agreements were made, it is presumed that yung pinasok nitong tatlong to is a joint obligation. Therefore, tatlong obligations yung created in this example. The obligation of Alma to Diana is 3,000 pesos. The obligation of Bernard to Diana is 3,000 pesos. And the obligation to Christine, yung pangatlong taong nag-utang, is 3,000 pesos payable to Diana. So, si Diana, in short, para siyang pumasok sa tatlong kontrata. Kay Alma, ang pinasok niya, babayaran siya ni Alma ng 3,000. Kay Bernard, ang pinasok niya is, si Bernard magbabayad sa kanya 3,000 and si Christine magbabayad kay Diana ng 3,000 para makuha ulit ni Diana yung kanyang 9,000 na pinautang. So, pag nag-due na yung utang at ang nakita lang niya ay si Alma, ang pwede lang niya makubra kay Alma is 3,000 pesos, hindi yung buong 9,000. Understood? Bakit? Because the law is clear. Ang presumption sa isang obligation is always that it is a joint obligation. Mas magaan. Nababayaran lang ni Alma is 3,000 at hindi 9,000. Now, example again. Balik tayo kay Alma, kay Bernard at Christine. Si Alma, si Bernard at sa Christine nagutang ng 15,000 pesos from Diana and Echo. They promised to pay on March 30, 2026. So, klarohin natin, okay? Ito si Alma, ito si Bernard, ito si Christine. Nangutang sila kay Diana at saka kay Echo. Magkano inutang nila? 15,000 pesos. Ang due date ng kanilang utang is March 30, 2026. Walang ibang pinag-usapan. Yun lang sinabi nila. Gumawa sila ng promissory note. They formalized it in a promissory note executed in favor of Diana and Echo. So, sinabi lang sa promissory note, we owe you, Diana and Echo, 15,000 pesos due on March 30, 2026. Walang ibang nakasulat doon sa promissory note. How much can Echo, kung si Echo lang ang March 30, 2026, si Echo lang yung nangubra, nagdemand. How much can he collect from Alma? Ang proper computation is 2,500 pesos only. Bakit? Bakit 2,500 pesos, attorney? 15,000 pesos yung utang. Because proportionate lang yung kailangang bayaran ni Alma kay Echo dahil walang ibang stipulation. Therefore, pag walang ibang stipulation, ang presumption ng law is ang obligation is a joint obligation. At kapag joint obligation, kung magkano lang yung proportionate share na kinobra ni Alma from the utang kay Echo. So, paano natin compute yun? Ganito lang siya. First, you get the total amount borrowed, 15,000 pesos, and then you divide it among the number of creditors. In this case, andyan si Alma, si Bernard, at saka si Christine. Therefore, tatlo. 15,000 divided by 3, 5,000. So, bawat debtor may utang na 5,000 pesos. Pero dahil dalawa yung ating creditor, meron tayong si Diana at saka si Echo, si Echo lang yung nangungubra. Therefore, you divide what you got from number 1 with the number of creditors. And in this case, dalawa. So, 5,000 divided by 2, 2,500. Therefore, si Alma, pwede lang niyang bayaran kay Echo is maximum 2.5. Yung other 2.5 ni Alma, babayad niya ngayon kay Diana. That is how you proceed with a joint obligation. Attorney, pwede bang sabihin ni Echo, hindi, Alma, ang utang ninyo sa amin is 15,000. Bayaran mo akong total 15,000. No. Because ang presumption ng law, do sa promissory note nilang tatlo ni Alma, Bernard, Christine is that it is a joint obligation. Therefore, ang pwede lang maximum na makuha ni Echo from Alma on March 30, 2026 is 2,500 pesos. Ang opposite ng joint obligation is solidary obligation. Ang solidary obligation is one in which each one of the debtors is liable for the entire obligation, and each of the creditors is entitled to demand the satisfaction of the whole obligation from any or all of the debtors. So, doon sa ating previous example earlier, kung nakalagay sa promissory note nila na we owe you 15,000 pesos due March 30, 2026, and this is a solidary obligation, pagdating ng April, pag nagkubra yung si Echo kay Alma, pwede niyang i-force si Alma na bayaran yung buong 15,000 pesos dahil nakalagay doon sa promissory note na it is a solidary obligation. Yan yung ating tinatry na iwasan. That's the reason why ang presumption ng law, kung walang ibang nakasulat, it is only a joint obligation because ang bigat niyan, aalsa mo yung buong mundo if solidary obligation, and solo ka lang sa pag-carry ng buong mundo. So, again, general rule, solidary obligation is never presumed. Ang presumption ng law is the obligation is always joint. Ang solidary obligation, dahil pasan mo ang buong mundo pag solidary obligation, it only applies when yung kontrata expressly states so. Do sa earlier example natin, kung do sa promissory note ng tatlo, nakasulat doon na itong 15,000 pesos na inutang namin, solidarily kami ang magbabayad nito or solidary obligation to, then nakalagay at nakasaad doon sa kontrata na klaro, solidary obligation yon. Therefore, magiging siyang solidary obligation. Yung solidary obligation is also never presumed unless merong batas na nagsasabi na itong obligation na to, pag nangyari, is a solidary obligation or magiging solidarily liable ang isang tao pag nangyari to. Yung batas, pag nakasulat dun sa batas yon, then ang magfa-follow is solidary obligation. Ang magfa-follow, magiging pasan mo yung buong obligation or yung buong mundo. And lastly, ang solidary obligation will apply when the nature of the obligation requires it to be so. So pag dun sa palang sa obligation, hindi pwede siyang himay-himayin. Therefore, magiging solidary obligation siya. Example, kapag ikaw at yung boyfriend mo or ikaw, partner mo, bumili kayo ng sasakyan, hindi pwedeng maging joint obligation kasi pag halimbawa nagkubra na yung pinagbilhan nyo ng sasakyan, hindi naman pwedeng bayaran mo lang yung one half ng sasakyan. Kasi kung ikaw nagbebenta ng sasakyan sa isang tao, yung sasakyan na yun, ikaw at dalawa kayong may-ari. Pagka nabayaran kayo nung bumibili ng sasakyan, hindi mo pwedeng i-deliver kalahati lang ng sasakyan kasi the nature of the car is to be one complete whole. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na, ang pag-aari ko sa sasakyan na to is kalahati lang, therefore ibibigay ko lang yung kalahati sa'yo. Hanapin mo yung kasama ko para doon sa other half. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Because the nature of the obligation requires it to be a solidary obligation. Therefore, solidary obligation applies. When the contract states that all signatories therein are solidarily liable, anyone, some, or all of them may be proceeded against for the fulfillment of the entire obligation. Just like what I told earlier, kung yung promissory note na pinasok ng tatlo, nakasulat na solidary obligation to, then kahit si Alma lang yung makita ni Echo, pwedeng si Alma yung magbayad ng buong 15,000 pesos. The choice is left to the solidary creditor to determine against whom he will enforce the collection. So kung kaninang example natin, isa lang yung nagpautang, si Echo lang. Pwede niyang kubrahin yung tatlo. Pwede niyang mag-demand doon sa tatlo na bayaran niyo yung 15,000 pesos na utang niyo, or pili lang siya yung isa. Bawa si Bernard lang kinausap niya, Bernard, bayaran mo yung 15,000 pesos na utang ninyong tatlo. Pwede niyang gawin yon. So long as nakasulat doon sa promissory note na this is a solidary obligation. Attorney, paano namin i-apply ito in the future? In the future, if you are faced with a contract na pinapirmahan sa inyo, check for these words. In solidum. Joint and severally. Yung phrase na yan, usually lumalabas yan. Joint and severally liable. Individually and collectively. Yung phrase na yan is also a common occurrence. Mancomunada solidaria. That is also another term for solidary obligation. Or pag nakalabas sa kontrata na, if the contract states that the persons are liable together or separately, yung phrase na yan, together or separately, that means ang pinapasok niyong kontrata is a solidary obligation. So be very, very careful. Pwede kayo pumasok sa solidary obligation, basta siguraduhin nyo lang na kaya nyo yung obligation. Okay? Okay, example. Joyce and Kevin owe Berna the sum of 3,000 pesos due on July 16, 2025. So, dalawa yan, no? Si Joyce at saka si Berna. So, ano natin? Para lang clear. Ito si Kevin, ito. Ito naman si Joyce. Si Joyce at saka si Kevin, they borrowed 3,000 pesos from Berna. Ito si Berna. Joyce and Kevin obliged themselves to be solidarily liable to Berna. On July 16, Berna bumped into Kevin. So, na-meet niya nung araw na yon si Kevin. May Berna collect the whole amount of 3,000 pesos from Kevin alone? Yes, of course, because solidary obligation yung pinasok ng dalawa. Therefore, the obligation may be shouldered by Kevin entirely. Creditor Berna is entitled to demand the satisfaction of the whole obligation from any or all of the debtors. So kung si Kevin lang yung nakita niya, pwede niyang hingin kay Kevin yung total amount na utang sa kanya. Okay. Let's not take this one. Basically, we've covered the topics that I want you to remember, but last two slides tayo so that makomplete natin yung law on obligations. The second to the last slide that I want to discuss with you today is extinguishment of obligations. So basically, ano to? I just want you to know that although there are obligations and there are sources of obligations, and if that one of the five sources, nangyari yon and yun yung inyong source of obligation, you have to fulfill or perform your obligation para mawala siya, ma-extinguish. In law, there are several ways to extinguish an obligation. And this is the list that I want you guys to remember. Okay? It is not an exhaustive list, but these are things that you might want to start with para malaman nyo paano kayo makaalis do sa obligation or how can you extinguish that obligation. First is payment or performance. So pag may utang kayo, pag binayaran nyo, then may extinguish yung obligation nyo. Also, by the loss of the thing due. Ito may mga nuances tong yung kawalan ng thing na kailangan nyong ibigay as your prestation. But for now, I just want you to know that this is one mode of extinguishing an obligation, the loss of the thing due. Condonation or remission. So, ibig sabihin lang yan, para lang, ang isipin niyo pag sinabing condonation, ibig sabihin parang pinatawad. O, sige, wag mo nang bayaran. Condonation yan. By confusion or merger of the rights of the creditor and debtor. Ibig sabihin lang yan na pag-isa na yung person nung both may utang and nagpautang. Pag naging isang tao na lang yan, extinguish na yung obligation. There's also by compensation and lastly, by innovation. The new civil code also provides other causes for extinguishment of obligations. So sabi ko sa inyo, non-exhaustive o hindi yung list na yung kanina, yun lang yung ways for you to extinguish an obligation. Meron rin tayong mga tinatawag na annulment, rescission, fulfillment of a resolutory condition, and prescription. So, in our class, I just want you to know na merong mga ways for you to extinguish an obligation. And once your obligation is extinguished, either by performance, by rescission, by hindi yun na kailangan mag-worry na pwede kayo maging liable for payment of damages. So, since these things will wrap up our discussions on loss and obligations, in our next meeting, I'd like to talk to you about the basics on loss of contracts. So, if you have any questions, reach out to me anytime or through your Beatles, and we'll try to clarify those questions in our next meeting. Thank you very much and have a good day.